Was is er nou?
Blijven.
Bist du sicher wegen dem?
Yo je iets niet, joh.
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Mark.
And here we are, episode 100 of Moped Outlaws. Yeah.
If we were smart, we would have had an MP3 of crowd cheering and a big crowd, fireworks going off.
Well, that's part of the fun, is that we aren't smart.
That's the brilliant part. Yeah, oddly enough, the duality of our show is two dummies make a brilliant show.
Yeah, it was really fun. Like, one of the things that we tested out for episode 100 that you guys are going to get to hear is we tested the concept of the Blue Highway process. We went out and we met people and we talked to them, and they had no idea we were coming, and we had no idea we were coming either. It was fun.
Yeah, it really was. I still get a high when I think on it. And the surprise of it was brilliant. Like, I think our experience with Matthew, the librarian, was incredible. Not just for the aspects of his knowledge of library systems and their goals and what he, but also your interacting with them from human to human. I don't want to spoil it, but there was like a great lesson of, I know everyone's going to cough up into the back of their throat, but our woke society, I think what we experienced at the library gives merit to that statement, woke.
Well, yeah, and we shouldn't get caught up in the way people throw around labels and how things get co-opted, because you and I are both on a path of awakening, and there's no reason that we should feel anything about the word woke that's derogatory, dismissive, or any of that. That's just someone else's ploy to try and keep from hiding from the miracle. And yeah, my conversation with Matthew had a vulnerable moment where I stood for my values with him, and that and whenever we are vulnerable and stand up for our values, it's a great gateway to human connection. And he stepped right up. Credit to him. And
that's what I was going to say, is what was beautiful of the moment is it was your vulnerability was appropriate. And I learned from the experience in a very uplifting, supportive way. It wasn't like, oh no, foot and mouth. It was like a very human, like, hey, here we are in the tribe human.
Yeah, this show has so much range in it. Like, there's this incredible enthusiasm with talking with the folks from Red Whale. There's this intensity that comes from meeting James.
Yeah.
And there's this like celebration of music that comes with taking a little trip on Record Store Day down to Mill Valley Music.
Yeah. Yeah, that was also very cool that it was Earth Day, it was Record Store Day, it was our 100th recording. Just a whole lot of love going on that day.
Yeah, and be sure and stick around for the end for kind of a special thing. Greg and I kind of close up the show, and there's a little bit of a surprise for those of you who have what it takes to stay all the way through the show.
So here we go. Episode
100.
All right, we're here with our 100th episode, and this is our beginning. We're out in the world, and we're here with, what's your name?
My name is Nile.
Nile?
And I'm working here at Red Whale Coffee.
Yes, sir. And we also have the honor of the owner here of Red Whale.
Yep, Sean. Boyd, yeah.
All right.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah,
Great
you too.
spot, by the way.
Appreciate it.
We've been coming here for a long time. In fact, that when we decided what to do for our first 100th anniversary, our 100th podcast was, well, let's start at Red Whale in Carolina, because there's a community feeling here. There's like a vibe here, and that's just awesome. And that's what we're all about with the podcast.
I would agree. Yeah, that's what we really project, and we're really involved in our community too. So, yeah, big time. Thanks for recognizing that.
And the whole idea about Moped Outlaws is like to have a sense of humor about yourself, right? Because you just, right, moped and outlaw, there's kind of a contrast there, right? So we talk about
a Peugeot.
There you go.
Nice.
And my first car was a Peugeot, not a moped though.
Yeah, so it's lighthearted. Sometimes we talk about issues of the day and stuff like that, and we just have a couple of easy questions if we run out of things to talk about. But let's talk about what made you start Red Whale.
Need.
Really?
Yeah. I lived actually I'm Californian. Moved to Canada back in 2003. Actually, in 1999, I moved back to Canada. I started Red Whale in 2003, but the coffee where I was living was just horrible. I had a restaurant bar, and I just couldn't find anything that was halfway decent. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I started Red Whale, but the whale actually came from what I wanted, but my dad and my uncle had a bar in Laguna Beach, which I used to work at, and it had a whale that was associated with it called the Marine Room down in Laguna, one of the oldest bars in Laguna. And so that they had a whale there that was associated that my dad's cousin designed, and I had that set up with my bar and restaurant. But then when I got into coffee, I wanted to change all that, so I changed from that whale, and I listed my cousin, who was working for Disney at the time, doing graphics design, and I said, I want a whale kind of like this whale but different, and I want a blue one and I want a red one. And he's like, okay. And so he did up the whale, and we made one edit to it, and the rest is history. Yeah,
branding done.
Totally. And when I started Red Whale, if you went out and did a Google search, there's like 3 things that came back. Literally only 3 things that came back. Now you go out and do a Google search for Red Whale, there's tons of stuff that comes back. It's amazing.
So did you trademark Red Whale?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Registered.
You have to chase people down?
I have. I've won. I've actually taken it to, there was a company in Reno, unfortunately. He named his coffee company Blue Whale Coffee. And I tried to get him to change it just to Blue Whale Cafe. Wouldn't do that. So we actually had to press it. And, we ended up going to the courts, the federal courts in Reno, which was kind of bucket list kind of thing. And ended up winning. We had the preliminary judge was like 98% in our favor, and they still wanted to push it. So we were like, okay. So that was, but then there was also somebody opened a Red Whale wine bar in the East Bay before that, and I ended up having to send him cease and desist and all that stuff too.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine that said once you trademark something, you have a responsibility to protect it.
You have to
your
enforce
IP.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to prove use.
Well, you also have to pursue.
Yeah.
You have to stay consistent with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't, then you can lose it.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So were you in the surfing scene down in Laguna?
5th generation Lagunan. So I've never really been a surfer. And I noticed your hat too. Yeah. Never really been a surfer. Always been a body surfer though. So I've body surfed some major surf breaks and big waves and
Do you
all that
happen
kind of
to,
stuff.
like, what is it, San Onofre?
San Onofre, yeah.
Yeah, were you hanging there?
I've actually surfed that break, but again, that's not really a body surf break. That's more of a longboard, it usually breaks way outside and it's pretty shallow and stuff.
So just out of curiosity, my brother-in-law is totally down in that area. Brian Bent. Yeah, no. Okay.
So I want to get you guys involved in the conversation. You work with Blue Whale.
Red Whale.
Red Whale. Sorry. See,
nobody's perfect.
See, that's confusion.
That's
right
it.
there.
Moped Outlaws is out of here. No, he's laid down a really important idea about it, and you guys work with this group. What do you think is one of the key aspects of this brand and the way you guys serve coffee?
The key aspect of this brand is hospitality and taking care of the people in the community and making sure that when they come into our shop, they feel welcome, loved, cared for, and that every time they're going to get the best drink, something handmade and made to order and something that you guys wish for.
It's about the experience too. You know, it's definitely about the experience that we project for sure.
And a big part of that is the quality of the coffee.
Absolutely.
Right? And like, it's amazing.
Why I got into
Master roaster Sean Boyd.
It's 20 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Coffee is 20 years. So,
How long have you been here?
2014.
All right.
So,
wow.
Almost
Yeah.
This has been kind of a hidden secret. Like, I just discovered it was about...
Our slogan on the wall is best coffee in Marin. Don't tell anybody about
don't
it.
tell anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want like lines out the doors
man.
with the
Oh,
entitlement crowd.
Oh, we've had
It
them.
happens. It happens all the time.
When we served coffee with no power.
Oh, that was insane.
Wow.
Hey, how did you guys do with the whole COVID thing?
Oh God, that was brutal.
Yeah.
We actually opened a store in Mill Valley. I leased the space out in late 2019. We had our plans and everything on the roll. We had our plans submitted to the county, and then we had the shutdown. Oh. And I had already started paying the landlords rent in Mill Valley, and so we got to that point, and we had nothing in the space at all. And I contacted the landlords immediately and said, hey, you know, we can't continue to pay you guys. Why don't we just put everything, any months that we missed, towards the back end of the lease? I had 3 5-year leases. I'm a long-term tenant. All my custom manufactured equipment locked down. You know, they couldn't do anything. So in a worldwide, I mean, I was getting equipment from Germany, locked down. They couldn't get parts from Italy. I mean, everybody was affected by it in some way. And so when we opened like November 7th, which was about 7 days before the secondary shutdown here in Marin. Ooh. So it was like whack-a-mole. And then when June rolled around, I got a demand letter from our landlords wanting $154,000. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Like, seriously? I mean, we just opened. We're just starting to get some traction finally after, you know, multiple shutdowns, and brand new business in the area, and took the plaza and lifted it up big time. And beautiful space, hardest project I think I've ever worked on, and we ended up losing the court case. Yeah. They didn't even bother showing up for the first judge. Kicked it out, filed again, came back. The second judge, not so smart, couldn't understand frustration of purpose, which is if you can't use it, you shouldn't pay for it. And we weren't even in the space yet, so it should have been pretty much a like no-brainer. Right. But we presented him with both the first, you know, the California, the federal shutdown, and then the California shutdown, and he wasn't even interested really in either one of those. My lawyer didn't do a very good job representing us, so they soaked us, made a decision for $154,000 plus another $46,000 in damages, and that the same landlord soaked our neighbors that are still there for $75K, and then the other neighbor right next door to us $100K. So they're trying to get basically almost $400K from 3 small businesses
that were all shut down during the pandemic.
All shut down.
Wow, that's a bummer. And they'll get theirs. I mean, that's just,
the space is still empty.
Yeah.
So what do you find for yourself to give you tenacity to continue with a kick to the head like that?
One of our mottos here, and it's always been one of my mottos, is determination. You know, if you fall down, get back up, keep going. You know, even if you got a broken leg, try and get across the street. I mean, I was so handicapped during that whole time. I mean, I kept all of our crew employed, didn't let anybody go. And it was just, it was heinous. I mean, we went to basically zero, almost zero.
Yeah, I believe. And how long have you been with him?
6 years.
I've been with him well over 6 years, almost 7 now, 6.5.
So you were a part of that.
Helped him build the store, helped him close the store, helped him run I was running the show down there.
Wow.
It was sad.
Yep. It was like losing that store was like losing a family member.
And community, too.
And
again, you know, huge part of the community. Landlords aren't even part of the community.
No.
They don't even live here. They live in the city, and it was all about a check for them.
You know, they were a huge landlord company that owns multiple strip malls, you know, across the country.
Well, I'm going to shift the vibe for a second. Cool. Today's Earth Day.
Yes, it is.
So how does red whale, and what do you guys think about how your impact is on the planet, and what do you guys do about that?
We do use 100% biodegradable and compostable cups, straws, lids, and Also, we try to have everybody bring in their own cups and mugs, and now that COVID's over, and we're trying to get everybody drinking a cup of coffee with less waste, and that's important. But also, we also take the time out of our day to when there is something going on, we'll go out and we'll go clean up. If there's cigarette butts on the ground in front of a store or a location, we'll go out and sweep it up. We'll pressure wash the floor. We'll make sure everything is taken care of and clean, and our community is well taken care of.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, like, my philosophy is on stuff with like Earth Day is community participating with our community, making sure that we're good citizens for our community, and not only globally as well, sourcing coffee as closely as we can to the producers, working with the producers when possible, and sourcing sustainable coffees and what have you, and products too. So we're always looking for innovation, technologies, and those kind of things. So yeah.
Is there anything about this business that has made you a better person? Just like a relationship with someone can transform you?
Yeah, struggles.
Yeah.
Every day, man. It's I think one of the hardest things that we have is I would always say this is employees. That is probably the hardest component of this business is people, and managing people, and clients and customers, guests. That's always fun. We get new people in every day that come in and never experienced red whale, and those kind of things are enlightening, and love that. And our crew turns people on to good stuff, and being engaging, not just being a number, not just being like a order number. It's like, hey John, hey Susan, how's it going today? And it's that real personal interconnection that we have with people and with our producers, and everybody, like I said, in our community too. We partnered with Sammy Hagar here about 5 years ago now, and he puts front to the money. I purchase green beans, and we take and roast those and supply them to St. Vincent de Paul's, which is our local soup kitchen here in Santa Fe. So we've offset all their costs for coffee, which was one of their largest line items on a monthly basis for the kitchen. So that's one of the things we do. That's just one of them.
And weekly donations there and to the Ritter House.
And is Sammy engaged with the farmers down?
No, Sammy doesn't have any involvement from that standpoint. That's all for me.
So he's the financer.
He just helps with that project.
Okay.
He comes in all the time, and he and I actually were just talking today because they just did a release for Record Store Day for their first album with Van Halen, and it's more so that's kind of what he's so busy with everything else he's got going on. This is just something I brought to him and said, hey, can we do something? And he's like, yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
So yeah, he does stuff for the food bank as well. He donates like $10,000 a year for them.
So are you interacting with the farmers where you get the beans?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, so
right.
There's a lot of people I've met over the years, developed relationships with and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that COVID really, really affected. And it's monetary. It hurt us financially, which then in turns it's all trickle down. Right. I mean, it's cyclical. It's this whole cycle. Because we want to go back to those same producers and buy those coffees from them. They've had to look for other marketplaces and things where they can ship to China, or Asia, and like shipping it to Japan or Korea or places, Dubai, England, where they're going to pay bigger dollars. So
being competitive in that environment's tricky, especially
really
if you lose the consistency of your buying pattern.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of Sammy, we have a musical question.
All right. Well, wait. I have one more question before you, because that's a good closing question. Do you feel now that you've come to a place of solidity where you have a next, because Mill Valley was obviously kind of a dream. Do you have something in mind now?
Absolutely.
All right.
We're working on it actually today. I'm executing on part of it right now, like the base of it right today. So yeah.
So there's growth in the future.
Yes, there is.
Amen.
I'm glad to hear that, because Red Whale, this is a good vibe. It's good coffee. It's
Thank you.
Scene.
It's
Thanks.
better than good. This is
Yeah.
This is one of
well,
my
that's kind of the
go-to.
thing too, is like, and then trying to maintain that consistency, because coffee's not consistent.
Right.
You know, it's one of the hardest products I think to keep consistent, and it's also, I believe, it's one of the only true grassroots products that's out there. I mean, it really goes back, like I was saying, back to the farmers. You know, we want to continue that cycle all the way back around year after year. Sometimes, though, the producers may not have the greatest year, so their product might not be the greatest next year, or it could be exceptional next year, and we might not be able to afford bringing it in because somebody else is grabbing it.
Yeah.
So it's very, very competitive. So
Do you find that you are sometimes going elbow to elbow with something like Starbucks or Pete's?
those companies, not so much, because it's, you know, again, we're quality driven. We still want volume, but we're quality driven, where they're not necessarily quality driven. They're volume driven. You know, that's why they have stores on every corner. It's because it's convenient and they just push volume. But they're not specialty grade coffee like we are. Our coffees are always 85 points and above. Their coffees, not so much. Yeah, it's commercial.
Greg and I can definitely taste the difference, man. That's why we've been
your
coming
body
here.
can tell too.
Yeah.
Heartburn. Oh God! And it tastes like we've cupped their coffees side by with ours, and you know, it's like our coffees get better as they cool. Their coffees get worse as they cool. So it's a do the side by side comparison, and that we get a lot of people that come back in. You know, we turn them onto our product, and then they go try the other, and they're like, I can't drink this. Like, but then they come back here and they're like, yeah, Sean, you've ruined us. And I'm like, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. I've done my job.
Once you go red, everything else is dread.
Right? I like that. That's good. I would agree.
Yeah. So here it is.
Okay.
Foo Fighters or Eminem?
Foo Fighters.
That was easy.
One of the guys that I went to school with, Drew Hester, actually plays with Foo Fighters. He was the guy that had the triangle solo.
I don't know the triangle.
Oh, you got to look it up.
All right.
We'll check that out.
Yeah, he'll live into infamy for that one. I mean, that was kind of like he was like, what are we gonna do? What am I gonna do? And they're like, what's the craziest instrument you could play? You can think of? He's like, triangle. And he did it. But I mean, even with Taylor and stuff like that, you know, he's from Laguna and all that stuff too. So hometown boys. Yeah. Eminem, I mean, I don't, you know, he is what he is. Somebody asked what were your 5 favorite rappers just this week, and I was like, Eminem was one of them. Run DMC, Tupac. Going back, Curtis Blow, you know, OG, and then God, what was the other one? Oh, Beastie Boys. Yeah. And I was like, that's it right there.
That's a solid pick.
So yeah, Foo Fighters by far. Yeah, I mean, those guys are amazing. They're cutting edge too. Yeah. So yeah.
So why don't you just hit us with like how people can find out more about Red Whale? What are the socials and all that?
Come check us out. I mean, Red Whale is it's Red Whale Coffee on all of our social. So Facebook, Instagram. We don't do TikTok. As much as everybody wants, I'm like, nope, not going there. Okay, you know, Gary V's like promote, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to go there. Yeah, I just don't. That platform I'm not a big fan of.
Got it.
But everything else, yes, that's what we're doing. So redwhalecoffee.com for website and stuff. But other than that, hashtag Red Whale or at Red Whale Coffee.
And I think it's worth mentioning that Greg and I are not getting anything out of this relationship other than we love this coffee. And
maybe a big hug.
Well, when we decided to do our 100th episode, we came here.
Wow, that's awesome.
how it is. Like, it's such an important part of who we are and what our vibe is, and the people here and the flavor. It all just adds up to like something special.
Thank you. That's really cool. Really cool.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.
There's so many last names.
So many last names. They all have a story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you doing well?
I'm getting better. I'm getting better, but it's been real rough.
Sorry to hear that.
It's been real rough.
Are you on the streets right now?
Well, technically I have an apartment in Mill Valley, but because of all of the stuff that's getting ready to happen there with even turning it into the first public magic school, it's it was worth, well, a whole lot could have been, yeah, it's exactly why I said that Lecrae saved me from having to hear my daddy.
So you're doing a magic school.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes. So we're gonna turn Cougar Pine's apartment into Revelations, the first public magic school, or school for magic. Well, magic school, I would say, because school for magic could be cards and tricks, but
This is Earth magic, universal magic.
universal, intergalactic, even so.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Interdimensional, maybe even.
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. Awesome.
Definitely.
So, what are you doing for yourself to keep on this planet so that can happen?
Showing them off.
Showing what?
Showing them off.
Showing them off.
I'm proud of all of them.
All right.
Proud of all of them. And I want people to be able to be comfortable with who they are and what they are, wherever they are, and wherever they're from. Wherever they're from.
Did it take you a while to be comfortable with them?
Well, for me, my past self told myself this time to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, my past lifetime. I was older than 12. I was about 15 or 16 because it was the same laptop that Etienne had let me have recycled to me. Which I even paid it forward and recycled it to my cousin.
Do you know today is Earth Day?
Hey man, happy Earth Day.
I know, right?
And we even got a whole new realm open today.
A whole new realm?
A whole new realm down there at Camp Compassion.
Camp Compassion.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell me more about Camp Compassion if you don't mind.
It's been a big bang.
It's been a big bang. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's beautiful.
It's really awesome to also see, like, everybody.
Did you have the support of your parents when you started entering this realm?
Yes. I was born premature. So they used to take off work and come over on their breaks because she was working at Sears over there. What, Sears or Macy's at that time? Macy's at the time. And then Auntie was at San Rafael, and they would come in during their breaks and just put their hands in just to give me human touch.
Right on.
Just to give me human touch. Incubated, because I was incubated for 6 months after my birth, because I was born at 6.5 months out of a full term 11 months of a pregnancy.
Do you find that you tend to be early when you have places to go?
It's good to be at least 15 minutes early. At least, because being 5 minutes late could be a missed meal, which is something that I learned from my dad.
Yeah.
Door-to-door marketing.
Yeah.
Door-to-door, because my dad, he is James D. McBride Sr., who desegregated the insurance market.
Oh, wow.
Door-to-door.
Yeah. That's a lot of work.
They drove here from Texas.
Wow.
Took them 3 days.
That's crazy. Where'd they end up in?
Right here in Nevada. Well, Marin County in Nevada. Bringing people back has been fun too. Like my therapist, Cindy Axe, who'd been dead for 17 years. 17 years. The light bulb, knowledge had a branding change. Because it used to be an apple, or even actually something more like a grapefruit or something, a pomegranate. Something kind of like a pomegranate would be more like what the traditional fruit in Mesopotamia.
That's wild, because a pomegranate, the juice is in all of those seeds, you know? It's like one of those rare fruits that, in my experience, usually the flesh of the fruit is what I'm
eating.
The pomegranate's also a very mystical fruit that goes back through the ages, and alchemists and people know that its origins in the Middle East, in the early parts of Africa and other parts of the Middle East. It's known as like the primordial fruit. Like some people say that the apple isn't what was actually on the tree; it was actually a pomegranate.
Yeah, I've heard.
Well, it's a cats or celts. A cats is like a pomegranate as far as how Phoebe, when we're down.
So do you hang here much?
I used to. When I was younger.
Yeah.
When I was younger.
What found you here today?
Besides us finding you.
I think you're going to be all right, James. I think it's going to be all right. Is there anything more you want to leave, drop of wisdom for the world?
Hey, I want to check in with you. If there's some emotion you're experiencing, I want you to know it's okay to express it to us. Like we're present for you as human beings right now. How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Sorry.
No, nothing to apologize for. It's all good.
Yeah, man.
All good.
You brought your reality, your trueness. That's all we want. Your humanity. Your magic.
All right, we're gonna roll on. You good? Nice. Thank you.
What's your name, and is it okay to record you for the podcast?
Yes, totally. My name is Matthew. I am a librarian here at the City of San Rafael Public Library. And yeah, what is this like nature of this 100th podcast that you guys are doing?
Well, Moped Outlaws is about this idea of the road and getting out there and doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things we want to do is we want to do the Green Road Tour?
Blue Highway.
Blue Highway, which is
like on maps, the blue highways were the highways off the main circuit.
So we're going to get on mopeds and we're going to go out and we're going to just randomly talk to people.
Oh, nice.
The 100th episode is us just practicing that close to home.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Seeing if it works.
The San Rafael Public Library, and
this is like a pop-up library. library, kind of.
That is how it's still marketed, but we have been here for almost 4 years now, so I would say the pop-up nature is, we're planning to be here as long as we're allowed to, so I would say we're past that.
Yeah, until they start building the apartments, probably.
Yeah, which we hear all kinds of stuff, like maybe that's in 2040, so
who knows?
We're not worrying about that right now. Yeah.
That's crazy. So they're just going to let this place be sort of
whatever it
vacant
is.
For that.
They don't have much choice.
Yeah, totally. They're talking about uncovering it, which they spent so much money covering it like a decade ago, so who knows what they're going to do with it.
So do you like being a librarian?
Yeah, I love it. Ever since I was in high school, I knew, as soon as I started helping in my high school library, I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I just kind of pursued that single-mindedly, and I'm totally happy with the outcome.
And did you get a library sciences degree or anything yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got my master's degree at the University of Washington, which is where I'm from originally. Not from the University of Washington, but from Seattle, you know.
They didn't grow it in the petri dish at the University of Washington.
Yeah, no, though they probably could if they wanted to. It's a very STEM school. But yeah, so I studied at UW, and now I am down here, so yeah.
Was it work that brought you down here?
My partner started doing his PhD at UC Berkeley halfway through the pandemic, so I moved down here in 2020.
Did the pandemic challenge your partnership?
Well, not as much as I thought it would have, because we were in Seattle during the very first lockdown, and we were in the same room basically with each other, one bedroom apartment for 8 weeks solid before we really went out and went anywhere else. So I thought that would be worse than it actually was, and it actually wasn't too bad. So
you think it's helped the relationship maybe?
I would say that it has shown that it is valuable to have a private space where I can like get away from my partner for a little bit, but it did not, at least apply all the stress that I thought it might.
Nice.
So, yeah.
When we were first coming up to talk to you, I used a pronoun he, and I didn't know how you identified.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about that when that happened? I corrected myself, right?
Yes.
How did that go down for you?
Yeah, so I use they, them pronouns. And, when you work with the public, people look at you and they make an assumption right away. And if I were to get upset every time that happened, like, my life would be pretty miserable working with the public. So among my colleagues and my friends and my family, I expect a different level of engagement. But when you're first meeting someone, there's certain social expectations you can expect someone, to make. But now that I would, hold you to a different standard.
Right. And I held myself to it as soon as I realized it.
Okay, you get a gold star.
No, it's not about me. It's just like I wanted to know, like, how did it land? Because as a boomer, I'm walking around still making mistakes like that, and it's important to me the impact that I have on people.
Well, part of what Matthew, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Part of what I appreciate what you just said is you're allowing space for mistakes, and we're human beings.
Right.
I think it's important to have that space.
Totally.
And then I appreciate that now that we know, you're going to hold us to that knowledge.
Yes,
That's
totally.
awesome.
Yeah, I remember, when I was in undergrad, one of my coworkers, I worked on campus, they use they, them pronouns, and that was a new concept to me at that time. And like, one time, we were all hanging out, we were talking, and I misgendered them in front of everyone, and I just felt mortified. But I turned to them and I said, I'm so sorry, it won't happen again. And even though I was embarrassed in that moment, I felt like it was a huge learning experience for me because, like you said, I think we need the space to be able to make mistakes because that's where we learn how to do something different. So, yeah.
So we were talking about how one of the things that drew us in here is that there's a free 3D printer.
Mm-hmm. Free 3D printer.
Right.
That's crazy.
And so we could construct a file, maybe I could do it in like I know there's some different freebies out there, and then if I wanted to do it, I would need to come in here and give you the file on a thumb drive or email it to you. How does it work?
Yeah, so basically we have certain times of day throughout the week, and we do this at all 3 of our library locations, City of San Rafael library locations, and you walk in and you can come with a file already chosen, or you can just say, like, I don't know how this works, teach me. And we'll sit down, we'll show you the whole process, and we'll get the file prepared for the 3D printer, and then basically we'll let you know when it finishes up and you can come get it. Right now the program's totally free, so we try to make that be the case for everything at the library.
How long does that typically take, that process from file receipt to output?
So for us, 2 or 3 weeks, because we only have a couple staff members that work on this. The actual physical process of printing normally takes less than 5 hours. So yeah.
Does the idea of this come from the library wanting to remain a viable aspect of the community?
Yeah, so I think that, a lot of what we want to do, so there's this concept called the digital divide, which is the idea that there is, in information economies like the United States, there's a growing divide between people who have high digital literacy and people who do not. And there's a big sort of cleft in quality of life, the types of jobs people can get. It's not good. And so part of what we want to do as the City of San Rafael Library, and colleagues all across the country are thinking of the same thing, is doing what we can to close that digital divide, especially for kids, to give them a chance in the information economy. And so part of that is exposing people to emergent technologies, and basically giving them the opportunity without the cost barrier to engage with that stuff. So we provide the 3D printer, which would normally cost hundreds of dollars at the minimum to have one of your own, and then money to operate. We provide VR, which, costs hundreds of dollars to buy a VR headset.
Is that what that time travel thing's about?
Yeah, that's to clean the VR headsets after people use them. The actual headsets are laying on the floor and over on that table there.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
But yeah, so, these are things that are probably going to be important technologies in the future, and we want people to have the opportunity to, get a chance to play with them for free and start learning about them and thinking about them now. Again, especially for kids.
Yeah, because information is what we're trading now. It's really an important aspect of how people build their lives in our culture and in our economy. And so this, books are information, and so it makes perfect sense to me that information output, like a 3D printer or like a VR setup, will provide the opportunity for people to engage at a level that would open doors for children. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can go to tinkercad.com and create brand new 3D stuff, and there's all kinds of tutorials there that are really amazing. And this is what I taught when I was teaching for that other company that I'm not going to mention. That was amazing to see the kids build stuff, and you take them through the exercise, and then they're like, well, no, I want to build this incredible thing. And I'm like, okay, go for it, right? Because, once the possibilities are open to them, once they get the feeling and the insight that, it's within reach, it ignites a fire in their imagination. And that's great that the City of San Rafael, and you in particular, and your colleague who we're not interviewing over there, who I know can hear us, is part of.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so with a master's degree in library science, you said?
Yeah.
For me, as a layperson, I think of libraries as a place for books. But as I'm talking with you, it seems more apparent a library is a source of information.
Yes. So I would say, there's an older model of librarianship, which is the idea of libraries as repositories for books. And so it's this one node that people come to, and basically it's like a warehouse for books, and it's organized, which is great. But now I think because again, coming back to the information economy, we're bombarded by so much information every day. We have so much access to, thinking about your ability to Google something. Like, you can go into a Wikipedia rabbit hole that is like hundreds of pages worth of information, easy. And part of the problem is that a lot of that information is not very high quality information. We're bombarded with so much information, but a lot of it is garbage, basically. Libraries now, more and more, I think, are like transferring to community centers that help to act as filtration systems for quality of information. So when we provide resources on our website, when we add things to our collection, it's through the lens of people who are professionally thinking about things like authority and information quality and fake news, and doing what we can to create an environment that kind of like pushes back on the continuous stream of information that we're like fire hosed with every single day.
So in a sense, you're a gatekeeper of information.
Yeah.
How do you stay conscious of your own bias as a gatekeeper?
Yeah, totally. And this is like a deep conversation in the community. One thing is there's the American Library Association, which is kind of for us in Canada, and I want to say Mexico too. It's kind of the like national, arbiters of quality library service. They have guidelines around basically how you develop a collection that's going to be interesting to everyone in the whole community, even though that collection might house stuff that I personally think is, not very high quality or even repulsive ideas to me, because we're devoted to the idea that, this collection is not my personal things that I think are cool. It's something that anyone can come and make their own choice about what they want to consume.
Yeah, gatekeeper's not quite the right word. Curator is a much better word, because you're bringing in multiple streams as opposed to keeping things out.
Yeah, but I'd say you are a gatekeeper because you have the choice of what's being brought in.
Well, and what he's saying is there's a large body of people who have very highly refined senses of how to do this process, who are making recommendations, and people are agreeing in large groups to have the kinds of standards that would allow for the broadest possible benefit to the public, while at the same time maintaining some level of discernment.
Right, and I think that's what the three of us would be in agreement with, that we're hoping people in places of authority, which I think our society is going to have as part of its structure for a long time, have consciousness, so that their choices are coming from a consciousness.
Well, and public libraries are responsible to their constituency, because if you're on the board, and you make decisions that the public doesn't necessarily like, that you're subject to some review about that. And that's not necessarily something that makes me feel comfortable, right? Because that could go both ways. You could have some suppression happen as a result of that. But it's also another way of managing the way those things get decided.
Two things popped in my head. The other night I heard this talk, and they said that right now more books have been banned in the last year than the last few decades.
Yes.
And I also heard that, was it Missouri? The state of Missouri decided to no longer give public funds to libraries. I don't know if it was Missouri, one of the states.
Yes, totally. I also want to say it was Missouri. It's one of those M states, but...
no bias there.
Mistake.
Traditionally, libraries have, even, I think, I don't know how much y'all talk about politics on your podcast.
It's wide open. We can talk about anything we want.
Okay, so traditionally, even as we've gotten more and more polarized as a country, libraries have done a pretty good job of maintaining concept of like neutrality and, giving voices to all sides or whatever. That, I think we're beginning to see that crumble. Libraries are becoming polarized as I think the national conversation takes this turn towards people not wanting to see certain pieces of information available at all. So the vast majority of the bans that have taken place have been, especially for school libraries that have a lot less control than public libraries, but have been around LGBTQ issues and racial issues. And I think as we see this social push towards people being like, I don't want my kid to like even know that gay people exist, or that America has, you know, a history of like racialized institutions. We are seeing that impact libraries, because libraries traditionally have been a place where people have been able to access that information, even if it makes other people mad. You know, so like first I was raised in a conservative Christian household, and when I came out to myself, the only place I could find information about myself was at the public library, and my parents didn't know about it, and it would have like pissed them off if they'd known. But that's part of the value of having this like public collection, and now we're seeing that, I think, it being endangered.
And it seems like one of the things that you've taken on as part of your vision and mission for your own life is to be someone who stands for that ideal. Like you've devoted, to get a master's in library science is no joke. Mm-hmm. And to devote your life to then working in a field where the level of competitive salary is it's kind of hard to mm-hmm. make a good living as a librarian and as a curator. But I'm imagining, and you tell me if I'm correct, that you're doing part of why your motivation is to maintain as much open access to information, and as you said earlier, even stuff that you might not agree with, because of the principle of open information.
Right.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think the Internet Archive is doing in that battle to maintain open libraries, and are you familiar with who they are?
Yes, totally. In fact, our library, because when you work in a library, you discard books. That's part of your job. You know, eventually books wear out, they get removed from the collection. And until fairly recently, our library, all of those discards got sent to the Internet Archive for future digitization. They told us to hold off because we were giving them too much stuff. But yes, so I'm very familiar with the Internet Archive. I think they do really great work. My understanding is they recently lost a lawsuit with publishing houses around, complaints from digital publishers that basically the Internet Archive had stepped on their toes early on in COVID by allowing more access than basically one person being able to check out a digital book at a time. Internet Archive argued that was a emergency measure. It was in line with what a lot of other institutions were doing for COVID, and when the pandemic let off, they also stopped doing that. But the publishers were not happy with that, and so they have sued. Currently, they have won that lawsuit, but they're on appeal right now. And by them, I mean the publishers have won that lawsuit.
Oh.
Yeah. And so the implications of this are hard to see ahead of time. Traditionally, libraries have been privileged around being able to check out materials to people, even though we only buy one copy of it. That could change,
Well, and in the case of the Internet Archive, they've done a really good job of trying to create as broad a spectrum of materials, and that's why I brought them up, is this mm-hmm. idea of a broad spectrum of insights and still having a curatorial discernment about what you bring in. Mm-hmm. But also, I'll just say, I worked for them for 2 years, nice. And the founder, Brewster, is the only person in the United States who's ever successfully fought an NSA cease and desist.
Interesting.
So he is completely dedicated and devoted to the principles that are enshrined in the Internet Archive of access to all knowledge.
Right.
Right. So, and as someone who's worked in that field, I respect your commitment to information and to your community and to the idea that the next generations have to have access for this if we're going to change the things that are toxic about our culture. So good on you for doing the work. Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
I have two more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Foo Fighters or Eminem?
I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of really good like AI generated Eminem remixes recently, so I think that's what's on my mind at the moment.
And who's a musical artist that we probably don't know that just totally like rocks your world, where you're like, you should check this person out?
I would suggest Rez, R-E-Z-Z. They're a Canadian like EDM like techno artist, and just pretty cool.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time and your efforts on behalf of the American public and the universal public.
Yeah,
And
totally.
for talking to us today.
For sure. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah,
Thank
man,
you.
you too.
Thank you, sir. You and I talking about records as we look through.
Yeah, so we're looking at this record store day. I don't even think it's this year. It's 2018 record store day release of Dennis Hopper and The American Dreamer, which is a double album set.
I never even heard of this album. Is it a soundtrack? It is a soundtrack. Because it's in the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, original soundtrack recording, The American Dreamer.
Never
Like
heard
it's
of
got to be a movie that he was in.
Yeah.
Deluxe edition. It was 1,000 copies. It's still sealed. So buying it today, what is it? It was 6 years later, and it's still a record store day thing. It's probably worth something. Apparently it's worth $30. It says right on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where are we? We're in Mill Valley Music, which is one of the great bastions of vinyl collections. And in fact, we could barely make it into the store. It's stacked to the rafters. It's like someone is a hoarder, but they're not. It's just a store. It's awesome.
Yeah. I bet you there's everything you would want you could find in the store for vinyl.
Well, I was thinking of asking him, like, hey, do you have the 45 of, this Michael Jackson 45 that was the first song I bought when I was a kid?
Oh, really?
I was like, I don't see a lot of 45. No, it wasn't Ben. It was before Ben.
Oh, really? So it's Jackson 5.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Jackson 5.
Do you know the song?
I did about a few minutes ago, but now, of course, because we're on
drugs.
No, we're on the recording. I can't remember shit. My adrenals just went, what? You don't have a memory?
Was it ABC?
Wanna Be Where You Are is the name of the track.
Right.
I wanna be where you are. Oh. Yeah, it's a good song.
All right, we could ask him.
We'll ask him if we haven't. Well, what does this store mean to you, Greg? You live here in Mill Valley. Like, do you come down here and buy records?
No, because I am in a place in my life where acquiring things is not a good idea.
Right.
And so if I had a turntable and a place for vinyl to be stored, I'd be here a lot.
Right. And our friend Mike has all of the records from the Boho collection, or a big chunk of them. And I have a turntable. So we should probably set something up that's like a place where we can go and listen to vinyl.
There's 2 records of mine that are in that collection that I regret giving away.
What were they?
Some Girls, the original release with all the girls' images.
The original Andy Warhol one?
Well, yeah, but it's like, because they got sued by Raquel Welch.
Yeah. So it has all the original girls.
It has all the faces.
So it's worth something.
And there's a 12-inch 45 that I have by Aztec Camera doing a cover of Van Halen's Jump.
Oh my God, I bet that's awesome.
It's freaking amazing. And it starts off acoustic, really mellow, like, you might as well jump. And then it ends with this freaking guitar solo that kills, it destroys. I can't even, and it's juxtaposed with that acoustic, it's just brilliant. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
we're going to go see if we can find, is it Glenn? Is that the owner of the store?
Now I'm spazzing out mentally.
Gary, that's it. So we're going to go see if we can talk to Gary from Mill Valley Music.
Yeah, and then we'll wrap this episode up.
Awesome. So Gary, we're in Mill Valley Records. Is it okay for us to record
music?
Mill Valley music?
But yeah, I don't care as long as you're correct.
Yeah, well, that's why. And is it okay to record you?
It is already.
We're doing that now.
Oh, I thought you already were.
No.
Yeah, we're on Record Store Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Vinyl Palace of Mill Valley.
That's sweet.
Well, I'd say
that's really sweet. Thank you.
Here's my request. I don't see a lot of 45s.
Do you have a paper towel, Gary, or just spilled water? Towel. Good.
Perfect.
We had hundreds and maybe thousands, but somebody bought the whole collection.
Awesome.
We do have some newish ones or more collectible ones, and we're starting to build it back upstairs. So the upstairs,
we went looking.
There ain't a lot, but there's 2 boxes there, and there's a box over there, I think.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, we're pretty low on 45s. We used to have a ton more.
Hey. Do you have this vinyl called 1987, What the F is Going On? By Mystical Knights of Moo Moo, I think they were.
That's really old, right?
Yeah.
No.
All right.
I love that you can ask him, and it's like Insta catalog in there.
Well, I mean, that stuff would be in the front section, just because.
The dementia hasn't set in yet, but give him a little longer.
8660? I did find that Sunvolt. I know you were asking about it.
What about
did you find it?
Yeah.
Oh, you already found it. Okay. All right, I'm ready to.
I hope it's not that.
I heard someone asking about it.
Yeah, no, that was me. 8660. Well, you didn't want the Taylor, right?
Just these.
8660.
Get out.
All right.
I need out. I can't take it. I'm always like that when I come here. You know how little I know.
Do you want to go to Joe's in like half an hour? Can you do that?
Yeah, you should have been here at 6:30. We had 27 people waiting to get in.
Wow, that's great.
That'd have been the greatest time to interview.
What time did you open?
6:30.
You did?
Yeah, that's it. Did you need your receipt?
No. What was the hot ticket? What was the hottest thing that flew out the door?
Wilco, Pearl Jam.
What was the Wilco? Oh, it was the alternate.
Yeah.
Alternate ticket.
Yeah, so that stuff flew out here. Crazy stuff.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
People come here for their vinyl gems, right?
I'm being discovered more and more and more. So people they get frustrated at other places and they'll come here now.
So what's one of your vinyl gems? Should I shut up while you're adding?
That's okay. You can talk. Yeah. 108.25.
It goes lower.
I probably multitask better than that. I'm probably more accurate when I've got other stuff on my mind.
All right. So what's one of the vinyl gems that been your personal treasure where you're like, yes?
There's actually some really good stuff, but I am a big Yes fan, and they did a Yes concert from '72, which I think is pretty cool. So I mean, I like that kind of stuff, and I'll probably take one myself because I got plenty of them. Because sometimes you don't get enough, and I can't. I can't, sometimes I get one of them. I think the Stones, the Beggar's Banquet's really cool. Like a splatterish vinyl. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
So
like those 2 that you just mentioned, are they in your personal collection?
Well, I have the original. The Yes one is new. I mean, it's never been out before. It's just a concert. I have the original Beggar's Banquet, so I don't know if I need I don't know if I need another one, but I have a lot, so I might. What do you need?
Coaster.
Huh?
My brother said to pick up a sticker. Sorry. And where? Oh, these?
No.
Sticker. Oh, got it.
There it is. Looks like you got the last one.
No, I got more. I got more.
What about a garage sale treasure that you came across where you're like, oh my God, these people don't know what they have?
Well, that's something you have to think about.
Yeah, but we got time.
I got if you want to peek, there's a whole bunch of stuff I just picked up. I don't usually do garage sales anymore, but because it's there's too much competition nowadays. So most of them come to me. Or maybe I'll buy a collection. Someone call me, and I'll buy a whole entire collection. But yeah, it's harder and harder to go out and search. It just becomes,
And do people bring stuff here to try and sell it to you
all the time? Yeah.
And how does that work for you? Is that like a tough sell for them, or is
it depends it's like I always tell people the stuff that's what sells the best, even on the phone. And because people don't buy classical that much, people don't buy pop that much, big band that much anymore. So I would do. I'd say the best thing that sells the most is like classic rock, like Beatles, Stones, Led Zeppelin. Then it's like blues, certain kinds of jazz, like Miles, Monk, Bill Evans, soul, reggae. So those kind of things, those are the best seller things. So if they have those kind of things, then they make out well, because if they're in good shape.
Yeah.
But then, but a lot of times people will go, oh yeah, I have a jazz collection, and you go, oh, Andy Williams, jazz? No. So it's crazy, but it's also like more and more thrift shops are getting really expensive, it's like I think Goodwill just went, the one around here just went up to $5 for a record, and they got crap records for the most part,
So is there like a major, like you've got your eye out for this one piece of vinyl that you'd really like to have for yourself?
You mean for the new stuff?
For you.
Well, again, I think of the store first, so I only save them if I have multiple copies of stuff. It's like, I already said that there's a Yes show from '72 that I'm and I had plenty of it. But what did I have? I had a couple. I'm a progressive rock fan, and I'm a big Porcupine Tree fan. They made 800 for the world, and they give every store one. So I sold it. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you're in business.
Well, it just feels more appropriate to let. But then there's a lot of things that I have one of, and I could have sold 20 of it. So it's crazy. If they make 800 for the world, that's most stores are going to get one if you're lucky. So that's one I probably would have got. But because I had one, I didn't. A few years ago, and it's also how you approach a store. They did Sticky Fingers, like apparently they originally had released some splatter vinyl as a promotional item to like record executives and stuff. So they released like 1,500 or so for the entire world, and this is like a repress, but they only made like 1,500 for the world. Maybe it's even less than that. So everybody got one, and it was $100.
It was like
so
that was like the end of the
I could have kept that. It would have been worth probably 500 or $1,000 later.
Yeah.
But I sold it the first guy in the door. And I don't know what he did with it, but I just don't feel it's right to do that.
Right. Those are your values. It's like you're a source, and it's not just about capitalizing.
And I actually feel bad when I only have one of something, and you got 27 people, and about 10 of them would want that. I feel bad that I want everybody here. I legitimately want everybody here to get what they want. And of course it's not going to happen.
Right, but you still live in that zone. That's your heart of getting people what they want.
And because of it, I order too much. So it takes me. As busy it is today, I'll never come close to paying it off. So it takes weeks, maybe months to actually do that. And I have about 30 boxes of old Record Store Day stuff upstairs.
Yeah, we were up there looking around. There's some amazing stuff.
Yeah, so and there's good stuff. Yeah, but it's.
We found a 2018 release for Record Store Day 2018 up there that was Dennis Hopper.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't even remember that.
It was a double album set. It was like,
Dennis Hopper.
Yeah,
it's a soundtrack
movie.
Okay.
Anywhere in New York,
one of his films, but I've never even heard of the film.
So you end up with a lot left over, and and the Record Store Day experience. Like I got really screwed on Black Friday, because what used to happen.
It's very expensive this year.
In just regular release stuff, like the Grateful Dead, where they have like 10,000 copies. You used to have to, and I do well with the Dead. So it used to happen is you have to order twice what you wanted to get what you wanted. Well, on Black Friday, it turns out that a lot of stores were not either participating at all, dropped out, or were doing less. And I got everything. I ordered, assuming I was going to get half of what I ordered. So I'm still really eating that. I'm still really eating that well. But so this time I was trying to be more careful, but I still I've got a lot of stuff, and the things that there were multiples of, I did pretty well. But there are also things that they're just ones and twos,
And in Romania,
Hey, Chris.
No,
You still want that album? Or I was about to. Somebody offered me 3 times the amount. So you don't care.
That's different.
But out of loyalty to you, I saved it.
See, that's it. That's why it's.
I actually did have someone, and it's something I actually ended up with a lot of copies of, because somebody wanted to buy something early, and I still have a lot of copies. It would have been easy to get, but he said, "I'll give you twice. I'll give you double." You're not allowed to sell until the day. So
Right.
it's like, I really want to sell.
And you never know when that's like somebody from ASCAP or BMI. Like,
oh, you mean like Record Store Day Police?
Yeah. Do they even exist?
It's theoretically possible because they have all kinds of rules. So if you don't follow them, you can be in.
You're out.
It's theoretically possible, but I think with some stores dropping out, I don't think they want to actually punish people like that.
Right.
I mean, because there's stuff on eBay before they're for sale. So how do those people know they're going to get it? And stuff like that. So what happens is I think some stores will go, "Hey Joe, will you sell this for me and put it under your name and whatever?" Because if I do that, then you can be busted for it. If I say Mill Valley Music is selling this for yada yada, and it's like 5 times what it's supposed to be, you can be busted for that. But if I say, "Joe, will you sell this for me? I'll give you 20%. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems like a lot of this stuff is for sale before it's for sale.
It's interesting.
So I mean, how do you know you're going to get that item?
And do you do online sales of your regular stock? Do you have like an?
Nah, I'm a Luddite. I really don't like it. I mean, I like the interaction with people. I like people coming in and buying stuff. I don't even like people waiting in line. I mean, I'm not like like Amoeba opens at 11 and they have a line around the block. I'm bummed. Like, oh, there's 27 people here at 6:30. That sucks.
Yeah, they should be in here buying records. Let's open the doors.
Well, I try to do that, but so even like but so that's why that's one reason I open early. So it isn't too crazy. My music.
Ken was okay for him, but he was really.
Hey, I am swamped right now. I cannot. Yeah, I'm really apologizing.
We all do.
Yeah, call like next week or something.
The only thing that people talk about when they talk
Thanks.
about high school is how they were traumatized.
There's a poster guy from Minneapolis who wants to buy posters here. But I have to mail it. That's a tough thing for me. I'm not a big online person. But I do have some good posters.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Some vintage film.
Well, I mean, I have a bunch of stuff in the back too.
Awesome.
You all set? Are you all set? Wait, we all set?
You what I had called about the Violent Femmes picture disc?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yay. Okay.
You want to look around, or you?
I think I'll get this, but
I don't care.
Thank you.
If you were there,
I'm
you were there.
ready. Thank you.
Are you Tina?
Yes, I am. Yeah, thanks so much.
And
I
you're
really
right?
appreciate it. And Paul's gonna get
3248.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you.
This one.
Did you ever see him live?
I did, yeah, at Bottle Rock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was amazing. They did this album like start to
Oh,
finish.
sweet.
It was so good.
Do you need a receipt or anything?
Elvis
I was really lucky.
We're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's the one thing, people go to other stores and then they don't find it, so then they try to shop my phone. It's like, shit, I don't know. You want me to go fucking look through my room, all my stuff? The music.
We're gonna play that. Okay. Because I bought this about 2 years ago.
No, there are many songs.
I do.
They made it.
But it's this intro that's insane, and then
Shut
it goes
up.
the drums into
And
the
so
song.
they did a second pressing of this record store.
All right, I'm
with
going
some
out.
different notes or something.
Is it colored?
I don't know. But it's, the original recordings on these were bad.
109.33.
We rephrase it. The original 60s pressings were not.
Your record store people.
So they went back to the original tapes and they built the pressings.
Do you want a receipt? Need a receipt? And we're good. Thank you. Bye now. This is like the second wave. Usually there's the big first wave, which is people buy
is great.
I mean, some of them might be flippers too. You know that whole thing.
My wife specifically sent me for 4 lemons.
Oh, good. I'm almost out of them. I'm almost out of them too.
I didn't see the box out there. I'm like, oh, this is the day they don't.
Oh yeah, we just didn't get everything out because we were swamped.
No, I figured. How much are these?
Mono and
Those are $5. Those are a benefit thing. You want one of those too? Okay. And the stickers you can have.
because I'm a nut. You have a mono turntable that is just.
So 83.35 altogether.
What's the difference? The difference. Well, if you really want to know, okay.
You want to do fun?
Yeah,
we do it.
The original, the needle is different. That's the difference. So mono picks up from just one side, and it also.
You want to receipt? We're good.
Yeah,
oh,
thank you.
I forgot the lemons, but don't worry about it.
Have a website.
Add the lemons to mine. Damn it!
Staying at his house for the weekend. So.
You have a mono turntable. I've never heard.
You're invited.
Yeah. When are you going to run this one soon?
This is our 100th episode.
This will be 5.
It won't be this Monday. It'll be next Monday.
Oh, excellent. Oh, good.
31.39 altogether.
Usually we've been doing it online, but part of our premise is we want to get mopeds. And are you familiar with the book Blue Highways?
Yeah, of course. I love that book.
All right, so we wanted to kind of do that Blue Highway thing and hang out with people and do episodes.
Yeah.
So this was sort of an experiment to see if we could do
Okay, we got it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Are you all audio?
We do a video stream, but the podcast itself.
You guys got more questions?
Yeah.
Hey, Lewis.
Yeah. So I have 2 questions.
Go ahead. There's Taylor. Go ahead.
I've been honored to be at one of your listening fests with albums.
Oh, we're doing another one in June.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just got announced, June 16th.
What's the criteria of choice for you for when you're gonna?
Well, we usually do a year. So it's usually we pick a year, and then I go through my stuff here and at home, and find all the stuff I can from that year, and bring it in. This next one is going to be on psychedelia, so probably more 60s, 70s, because if someone comes up with a 40-minute song, I'm going to have to, play. I'm only playing 3 minutes of this dude.
Right.
But stuff like White Rabbit and all that kind of stuff, and maybe some Love and things like that.
Great.
Yeah, stuff like that. So
Charlatans.
Charlatans. Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
But anyway, that's the idea. Is we'll do
you
more.
playing tonight too?
Patrick, we'll do more psychedelia type things.
Right, cool.
That's the theory. That's the but that just got confirmed like last week. So so Friday, June 16th.
All right. And this is kind of one of our patent questions of our podcast. Eminem or Foo Fighters?
For me, well, if I have to pick one of those, it's Foo Fighters. Yeah. But I would I'd rather do like Pink Floyd or something.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, Gary.
Oh, that's it?
Well, do you have more?
I don't know. Sure.
Pink Floyd.
Questions are good. He's got more answers.
They're good.
Question good. we might respond.
You're a Yes fan.
Yes.
What about the whole fiasco with the lead singer?
I think it sucks. I think it's very small-minded of all parties. Apparently, there's a big rift between John Anderson and Steve Howe now that they won't. I mean, it all started with John Anderson got sick and they wanted to go on tour, and it took a while.
Right.
So that kind of thing.
And then he got better, and they said, "Well, we have a singer."
We have what?
Well,
but he's not good, and he's not as good.
Right.
And so now you kind of like got half a yes, and like he's out, and John Anderson's on tour with a pretty good band supposedly.
Okay, most underrated 60s rock.
Oh, good question.
Underrated?
Yeah.
By cult underrated or popular underrated?
People have forgotten.
I think Love is probably an underrated 60s
People
rock
have
band.
forgotten today, yeah.
Love probably. Love's a good one,
Last night I pulled out my Savoy Brown records.
Well, they're not rock. They're kind of blues.
Rock blues.
Yeah, you can say rock blues, but
Clapton or
30-31?
back in that vein.
Can you take a 50?
Yeah.
You won't get anything back.
Yeah.
Take it.
I broke it.
Are you an Umaguma fan?
I like it. I mean, it's not my favorite of them all, but I like it a lot, for sure. Thank you.
And the 50th anniversary of Dark Side is when? Isn't it?
It's now. I mean, they have their releasing box sets and all kinds of things.
Right.
But I think that the way they're doing it is just crappy. You know, it's just crappy. They're like they did a live Wembley show in '74 where all Dark Side. They edited it, put on one record, and it made it overpriced. You know, so stuff like that. You know? And there's a box set that's like completely unnecessary. They did an immersion box with a Blu-ray and all kinds of really cool stuff in it. You know, a while ago. And it's just like, why are you doing that? You know, it's just like you want to give you. I mean, it's like, well, we talked about as a store. You know, if I was a band, I would want to give people something special. You know, I mean, something like, you know. So the Wembley thing's been out before in the box set, but as far as
you get any of this?
Yeah, I should have it.
Where?
Probably that room. That room. Yeah. But I mean, there's all kinds of places. I can help you later, but I should have it.
No, if you just point me out, I will.
Hey, he's looking for Lippy. I think he's looking for collections. Collections are at the end of the rock section. Collections. He's looking for collections, I think.
Well, he's looking for like big band CDs. He's looking for
big band is in the
Hermits.
Yeah, if we have that stuff. Hang on one sec.
Yeah,
Where's that going to be in this store?
All right, this is going to be quick because we're in Mark's truck with the windows closed so that it's quiet and it's hot as fuck. Oh, that'll be too much noise. There goes the whole reason for it.
Wow, this was awesome.
It was awesome.
We met some people, things happened that we didn't expect to happen, that reaffirmed the whole premise of this idea of spontaneity and connecting people with from the heart, with the heart, to the heart. And wow, that interview with John, that was a surprise.
James. Yeah.
That was a surprise. That was like, you guys won't be able to see the expressions on his face when you hear him talking, but that was like a deeply emotionally moving experience for me. And then just meeting these people and seeing how eager they are to tell their stories was very affirming of the whole concept of us going out there and finding people.
Yeah. So what do you think by episode 200, we'll have mopeds and we hit the Blue Highway?
I want to hit the Blue Highway as soon as possible, and I think if we commit to getting mopeds as the first step, then anything's possible. Like, let's just commit to getting mopeds as soon as possible and talk about what that looks like. Like, if any of you are listening to episode 100 right now and you know someone who wants to donate a moped to us, or someone who runs a moped company who would sponsor the show, Moped Outlaws, that's like a pretty badass brand to be sponsored by, or to receive sponsorship. So we are going to make it happen, and let's not set a goal that's out there in the future. Let's set it as if it's now. It's going to happen ASAP.
I'm on.
All right. So how was your experience?
It was brilliant. Yeah, I think, as you said, proof of concept, we can do this. And James was a definite gem, and very moving. It was sitting with that gentleman and just seeing the pain in him was profound. And
I was also struck by the way he was constantly creating the new possibility. Like, yeah, I have an apartment I don't really go to, but I'm going to start a magic school there. Like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I know. That was brilliant.
Yeah. And you should know, guys, that he was wearing these amazing pieces of jewelry on his fingers. Yeah. Like, he looked like, this is street magician, not street musician, but street magician. He looked like he could, wield some magic.
He looked like he was from another realm.
Yeah, he definitely was too, the way he vibed in. Yeah, he was channeling some different, vortexes and layers of timelines and alternate universes. But the crew at Red Whale, that's how our day started.
And Red Whale's a gem.
Yeah.
That's one of our personal favorites.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. It's like the go-to coffee place that I would, and I don't drink caffeinated coffee anymore, so it's all about flavor for me.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting better.
Okay.
It's getting more healthy.
All right. It's good.
Yeah. So, episode 100 in the can.
episode. And then, of course, Mill Valley Music, like there was a lot of love there, and you and I were in our element. It just felt like we were home.
Yeah, and I love how chaotic it's going to be for you guys to listen to it and just be like, oh man, there's 4 conversations all happening at once. Which one do I listen to? And, it's the equipment game is going to have to improve too. So we're definitely going to be talking to moped companies and to the Zoom company to see if we can upgrade on the audio over time. But, we are in this for the long haul because there's so much joy and vibrance and storytelling here, and it's going to take us places and reveal things to us that we can't possibly anticipate, and that is just an amazing thing, and we want to take you on the ride with us. So hop on the back of the moped.
So you're in for another 100.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm in.
All right.
Recording stopped.